New York Met trade talk intensifying, and this time it's Jhoan Duran of the Minnesota Twins, who would not only greatly bolster up this bullpen, but could also bring a fan favorite from last year back in Harrison Bader. Fans love this until they hear the price. That's when they get quickly turned away, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about here on Mets Digest, and only on Mets Digest. I'm your host today, Mike Duda. We're going to talk Jhoan Duran, Harrison Bader, a lot of guys from the Minnesota Twins, but first we got to talk about some subscribers, and that being that 69.2% of you that watch these videos aren't one. So please do me a favor, do us a favor here at Mets Digest, and hit that free subscribe button. That way we can bring content to you about the amazing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. And we're going to start this off a little bit differently. I'm going to ask you a quick question. Do you really realize how badly the New York Met pitching staff is injured? Well, in case your answer to this question is no, Joshua Valdez of Yahoo Sports, he's got you covered. This was written a week ago, and he said the New York Mets are a half game ahead of the Philadelphia Phillies for first place in the National League East, now a game and a half, but their pitching staff is still injury ravaged despite the recent returns of Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas. Brandon Waddell, hip. Daniel Nunez, elbow. Max Kranick, flexor. Paul Blackburn, shoulder. Tyler McGill, elbow. Griffin Canning, Achilles. Drew Smith, elbow. AJ Minter, lat. Danny Young, elbow. And Christian Scott, elbow, are all on the Mets injured list. The MLB trade deadline is July 31st at 6 p.m. By the time you're seeing this, less than 2 days away. So the front office has 1 week, now less than 2 days, to add healthy arms from around the league this season. One of them, you've heard it, this is the focus of today's video, it could be Jhoan Duran. We even have a passing bomb about it. Jeff Passan of ESPN says he's a good fit. He says, quote, the Mets need relief help. Getting Brooks Raley back helps, but the majority of Mets relievers struggle with control. This is especially true even with their newest pickup in Gregory Soto. He struggles with walks. He walks a lot of batters. Part of that is probably to blame of the pitching coach Jeremy Hefner, but he's been so good overall that you can't really blame him for that. So control being a problem even with Soto and just all around this team, Jax is all about command, and his ability to spot his wicked off-speed pitches is as good as any reliever in the game. Alden Gonzalez, still with ESPN, also talks about the interesting twin side of things. This isn't only about the Mets, it's a trade. A trade obviously has two sides to it, sometimes three. So let's talk the other side here in Minnesota. He says, quote, several high-profile teams are in need of bullpen help ahead of the trade deadline, including the Mets, Yankees, Phillies, and Dodgers. And the Twins have two of the best available in Griffin Jax and Jhoan Duran. The sense is that at least one of them will be traded, but those who are looking for relief help expect the asking price to be very high, partly because both of them are controllable through 2027, and partly because the Twins' uncertain ownership situation has clouded the approach with those who are not pending free agents. He goes on to continue saying, the Twins are widely expected to trade outfielder Harrison Bader, super utility player Willie Castro, starter Chris Paddock they already have, and lefty reliever Danny Colomby. But Jax, Duran, and young starter Joe Ryan are the ones who would bring back the biggest return. The Twins are said to be listening on everyone, but the team being up for sale since October and in limbo ever since prospective buyer Justin Ishaba increased his ownership stake in the Chicago White Sox in early June has complicated matters with longer-term players like the guys you just heard, Jax, Duran, and Young. So now we're going to turn to another ESPN guy. This time it's David Schoenfield, who confirms the Mets are guaranteed to be bringing in either bullpen help, pitching help, or both. He says, quote, one guarantee of the trade deadline, the Mets will add to the bullpen, probably with more than one trade. They already have one trade in Gregory Soto. They're probably going out and getting another one. Though the rotation still ranks 5th in ERA, that was built off a hot start. They were first in ERA for the starting staff and overall as a staff for the longest time. More importantly, the only Mets starter to complete 6 innings since June 7th, this was written a little bit ago, so bear that, has been David Peterson, but that trend still continues. Peterson is the only one that gives them length. As a result, manager Carlos Mendoza has run relievers Reed Garrett, Huascar Brazoban, Jose Butto, and Ryan Stanek into the ground. The bullpen had a 2.78 ERA through May, but that figure is over 5 since the beginning of June, ranking near the bottom of the major leagues. Now, The Minnesota Twins, they are very appealing. As Schoenfield goes on to say, the Twins have two high-profile relievers in Jhoan Duran and Griffin Jax, both of whom are under team control through 2027, so they'll be much more expensive than your usual short-term relievers if the Twins decide to trade one or both. Duran would be harder to deal, but bring more in return, so we'll say Jax will go. Don't be fooled by his 4.09 ERA that is now less. He has 68 Ks and 12 walks in 44 innings with a 97-mile-an-hour heater. He's an elite strikeout reliever, the type you want on the mound in October. That's what matters for the New York Mets, is October. That's where we want to get. So let's start off with the focus of today's video in Jhoan Duran. Big guy, too. 6'5", 230 pounds, 27-year-old right-handed pitcher, and you see the stats on your screen now. They are great. 6-4 with a 2.01 ERA in 49 games, 49 1/3 innings pitched. He's 16 for 18 in saves, just 2 blown saves, and he's on a very favorable contract, like we heard in those quotes. Whip a little over 1, not that bad at 118, a little high, but 53 Ks definitely makes up for it, and that very, very low ERA. His contract, he's on a 1-year deal, $4.125 million in order to avoid arbitration. ARB 2 begins in 2026, ARB 3 in 27, and he's finally an unrestricted free agent in 2028. So you get plenty of control with Jhoan Duran, and here's another guy who gets lefties out. We just talked about this in my most recent video about the ever-increasing Ryan Helsley of the St. Louis Cardinals. He gets a lot of lefties out as well, as does Duran. He looks great. A 181 average from lefties, 529 OPS. And look at that. Overall, less than 600 on the OPS on both sides of the baseball. These are really, really solid stats. He's got a fun arsenal, too. He throws a split finger and a four-seamer. You don't see a split finger too often. He'll throw a knuckle curve from time to time as well. The sweeper is not that bad either that he throws every now and then. So overall, a fun arsenal. Four pitches from a guy who is currently a closer is also really, really solid. And when you look at the advanced metrics, they are awesome. Overall pitching value in the 93rd percentile. Off-speed run in the 99th. He's got one of the best off-speed runs in all of baseball. Very, very high expected ERA. He's in the 100th percentile in fastball velocity, sitting 100 plus. Sitting 100 plus. That's awesome. Gets a lot of chase, gets a lot of whiffs, solid strikeout, avoids the barrel in the 99th percentile, and in the ground ball rate, also the 99th percentile, nearly 66% of contact against him is ground balls. That is better than David Peterson. And David Peterson, we praise all the time here on Mets Digest for getting those ground balls. It is huge for a pitcher. So Jhoan Duran is definitely a very appealing guy. And you can pair him with plenty of guys from Minnesota, including a pair of pitchers. We've heard this. Griffin Jax, although the ERA is a little high in 46 innings, he's a solid option as well. He's got a lot of team control, a boatload of strikeouts, 72 in just 46 innings, 49 games pitched as well. So very solid from Jax. Someone that I secretly love under the radar here is Danny Colombe, lefty as well. 1.16 ERA in 40 games and 31 innings pitched. He's got 2 saves to his name. He actually started a game probably as an opener. 31 Ks in 31 innings. That's exactly a 9 strikeout per 9. Less than 1 whip this year. That is also awesome. And like we were saying, how about Harrison Bader, a fan favorite from 2024 who's putting together a really solid season over there in Minnesota with his Chug Jug bat on deck, the Chug Jug looking bat, which I think is so fun. Also, how about Willie Castro? He's got very similar stats as well, and like you heard in the quotes, he is a super utility guy. He can basically play anywhere on the field. Bader, fun guy, right? Doesn't this all seem great? This seems perfect. Let's go make a trade with the Minnesota Twins. They seem like the perfect candidate. Well, here's the monthly breakdown for Duran, which not so great because he wasn't good in the month of March, but he only pitched a third of an inning. He was awesome in April and May, solid in June, and he started to fall off since. Look at the last 7 days, look at the last 15 days. He's starting to get hit harder of late. That ERA is starting to spike a good amount starting here in the month of June and also the month of July. Of late, he just hasn't been what we thought he would be. Plus, this makes a potential package even more ridiculous. Look at this. Look at the potential package. I've seen one mock trade, and this is it. Mets get Duran, one reliever, one relief pitcher, and they have to give up Blade Tidwell, 10th guy in our prospect in our system, Jonathan Santucci, a left-handed pitcher, 13th in our system, and the number 1 prospect in our system in Jet Williams, number 38 overall, a guy that's going to be a guaranteed stud. No, 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 this is way too much for Duran, as this is, the Twins want, and rightfully so, they want a return package of a closer. Jhoan Duran is a closer. They want a return package like a closer would be, but the Mets won't use him as a closer. The New York Mets have arguably the best closer in all of baseball in Edwin Diaz. Whoever they trade for, at best, is going to be a setup man. You cannot be giving up your number 1 prospect for a setup man. No, 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 under no circumstances do I want this deal to get done. I love the stats. I think Duran is a really, really solid player overall, but not for the number 1 prospect in all of our system. Go down there in the comment section. Let me know, do you want Duran on the Mets? Would you do that mock trade that was proposed, including Jet Williams, to go out and get a setup man? I personally would not even come close to touching that. However, I like the Minnesota Twins as a potential trade partner. I think my 2 favorite right now are the Cardinals, who's got both Sonny Gray and Ryan Helsley. Go check out my video from earlier if you haven't already. And also, I'm really liking Minnesota because of Danny Colomby. I didn't realize how great of a season he was having from the left side as well. He would be the 3rd lefty in this Met bullpen, but I definitely love him. For me, I'm out on Duran solely because of what the package would have to be to go get him. But let me know if you disagree down there in the comment section. Again, Adam and I got you covered trade deadline. David Stearns, now less than 2 days away from the trade deadline. He's only gotten Gregory Soto. Let's see if some moves come in. We got you covered on that, and we got you covered on all the rumors, so stay tuned for that coming up. But unfortunately, this is all the time I have for you in today's rumor, this video. Thank you so much as always for watching, and let's go Mets.